Excluded from my sister's wedding, I went on vacation. When the wedding fell apart, my whole family frantically tried to reach me. "You're overreacting. It's just a wedding," my mother said. I was not invited to my own sister's wedding. Instead, I scheduled a trip. Days later, my relatives blew up my phone. I sat there staring at my screen, reading the message for the 5th time. "Hey, just wanted to let you know the guest list is finalized, and we had to make some tough cuts. Hope you understand. Love you." Tough cuts. Tough cuts. I wasn't some distant cousin. I wasn't an old family acquaintance whom they hadn't seen in years. I was her brother. And my sister, the same sister I had assisted through every crisis, heartbreak, and moment of self-doubt, had just cut me out as an afterthought. I remember holding my phone tighter, my pulse racing as disbelief spread through my chest. I almost laughed because it seemed too absurd to be real. This had to be some kind of sick joke. I called my mother instantly, hoping she would clear it up, hoping she would say it was a mistake. She answered on the second ring, her voice overly cheerful. "Hey, sweetheart, what's up?" I didn't waste time with small talk. I just got a message from Emily. She says the guest list is finalized, and I'm not on it. There was a pause, heavy and long enough to confirm everything I feared. "Oh, honey," my mother finally sighed, using that tone she always pulled out when she wanted to make me feel like I was unreasonable, like I was a child having a tantrum. "It's just a wedding. Don't make a big deal out of this. Just a wedding." Those words cut like a blade. My jaw tightened as I asked, "Are you serious? I'm her brother. How am I not invited to my own sister's wedding?" My mother made that dismissive tisk sound, as if I were making a mountain out of nothing. "It's not personal," she claimed. "They just had to keep the guest list small." But I had already seen Emily's Instagram post. She had invited over 150 people. Strangers, co-workers, distant acquaintances, but not me. When I mentioned that, Mom gave a hollow chuckle. "Well, you know how things are. Weddings are expensive. Maybe they assumed you wouldn't mind skipping this one." "Wouldn't mind?" The words echoed like poison in my head. I reminded her of all the times I had been there for Emily. I had helped her relocate twice when her apartments fell through. When she lost her job, I covered half of her rent. When she went through heartbreak, I was the one who sat with her late at night, listening, comforting, even taking time off work so she wouldn't be alone. And now I wasn't good enough to be present on her so-called special day? "Oh, stop being dramatic," my mother said with a sigh, her voice flat, dismissive. "It's just one day. You're overreacting." Overreacting. That single word lit a fuse inside me. I could already see how this would play out. I would argue. She would shrug me off. Emily would later send me some shallow half-apology, maybe say she was sorry I felt that way. And everyone would expect me to forgive, because that's what I always did. I always forgave, always let myself be treated as the afterthought, the shadow behind Emily's spotlight. But not this time. Something cracked inside me. If I wasn't worthy of inclusion, then fine. I would not be included. But I also wouldn't sit around and sulk while my family paraded through the happiest day of Emily's life without me. No, I would make a different kind of statement. I hung up without another word, my hands trembling, and opened my laptop. If I wasn't going to attend Emily's wedding, then I would be somewhere better. Somewhere I was appreciated, even if it was just by strangers at a resort. I started looking up flights. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. This wasn't just about a wedding. This was years of being dismissed, overlooked, and treated like I didn't matter. I wasn't the type to get upset over small things. I had let so many things slide. Emily forgetting my birthday year after year. Emily only calling when she needed something. My mother always pushing me to be the understanding one, while Emily was allowed to get away with anything. But this was different. This was a new level of disdain. And I was done. Within an hour, I had everything booked. A first-class ticket, an all-inclusive resort in the Caribbean, a private suite with an ocean view, spa access, even a private beach. I had always told myself such a trip was too much, too expensive. Not this time. This wasn't just a vacation. This was me taking back control. This was my way of saying I refused to be treated like I'm nothing. When the wedding weekend rolled around, I was not at some reception hall back home. I was on a plane, sipping champagne in first class, stretching my legs, and watching the world below fade into clouds. And of course, I made sure to upload a photo. Legs stretched out, glass of champagne in hand, with the caption, "Guess I got cut from the guest list, but I think I'll survive." The reactions were immediate. My cousins sent laughing emojis. One aunt commented, Good for you. Should have taken me with you. And then came the one that really made me smirk. My mother, furious, sending 3 texts in a row. Where are you? Are you seriously missing your sister's wedding over this? You're being petty. Petty. The irony almost made me laugh. For once, I wasn't being petty at all. For once, I wasn't being the pushover. For once, I was choosing myself. I closed my phone, leaned back in my seat, and let the bubbles from the champagne fizz across my tongue. For the first time in years, I felt free. And I had no idea that this choice, this simple act of defiance, would lead to my entire family turning upside down. Because while Emily's wedding went up in flames, my absence became the very thing they couldn't ignore. The moment the wheels of the plane touched down, I knew I had made the right decision. The airport was warm, breezy, filled with the scent of salt water and blooming flowers. I walked past tourists in flip-flops and sun hats, each of them buzzing with excitement. And for the first time in years, I felt like I belonged somewhere. A driver held up a sign with my name on it. He ushered me into a sleek black SUV stocked with cold towels and bottled water. The leather seats cradled me as we drove down a coastal highway with the Caribbean Sea stretching endlessly to my right, waves glittering under the fading sunlight. This wasn't just a getaway. This was liberation. Back home, Emily was probably rehearsing vows, sipping cheap champagne, being fawned over by relatives who never once cared if I showed up or not. But here, in this paradise, I wasn't forgotten. I wasn't the afterthought. I was the priority. When we reached the resort, I was floored. The lobby looked like something out of a fantasy. Towering palm trees inside, open-air design letting in the sea breeze, and smiling staff handing me a cocktail before I even reached the check-in desk. My suite was better than anything I had ever imagined. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the ocean, a balcony with white curtains that billowed in the breeze, and a king-sized bed that looked like a throne. I stepped out onto the balcony, letting the warm night air wrap around me. Below, the waves whispered against the shore. I couldn't resist. I snapped a picture of the view, captioned it, "When one door closes, another one opens," preferably to a beachside suite with unlimited margaritas. Within minutes, the post lit up with reactions. Laughing emojis. Friends commenting that I was living the dream. Even a couple of colleagues from work saying they were jealous. I smiled to myself, knowing Emily and the rest of the family would see it too. Let them feel, just for once, what it was like to be left out. The next morning, I woke up to room service. Pancakes stacked high, fresh fruit glistening like jewels, and coffee so strong and rich it ruined every cup I'd ever had at home. I ate while staring at the ocean, then spent the day exactly how I wanted. Swimming in the infinity pool, lounging on the beach, letting the sun soak into my skin. No responsibilities, no family drama, no guilt. Just me, for once in my life. By afternoon, I was stretched out on a sunbed with a martini in hand. I scrolled through my phone, smirking at the growing wave of comments. Cousin Jake. Bro, where are you even? Aunt Lisa. Okay, now you're just showing off. An old college acquaintance. Dude, invite me next time. And then, the notification I had been waiting for. Emily saw your post. I laughed out loud. I could picture her perfectly, sitting in her bridal suite, makeup half done, scrolling through Instagram only to see me, her own brother, relaxing in paradise while she stressed about centerpieces and photo shoots. Good. She had wanted to cut me out. Now she got to see what that cost her. The sun dipped lower, painting the horizon in pink and orange. I ordered another drink, stretched deeper into the lounge chair, and whispered to myself, "Enjoy your special day, sis. I hope it's everything you wanted." But as the night grew darker, something shifted. My phone buzzed once. Then again. At first, I ignored it. I assumed it was just more comments on my posts. But the buzzing didn't stop. It became constant, relentless. Calls, texts, notifications piling up until my phone looked like it was on fire. Finally, I picked it up, ready to roll my eyes. But when I saw the names lighting up the screen, my smirk faded. Mom, Emily, Cousin Jake, Uncle Rob. Even relatives who never texted me were blowing up my phone. The first message I opened was from my mother. "Call me. It's an emergency." An emergency? At the wedding? I set the phone down, debating. Did I really care? Did I want to? My thumb hovered. Then another message popped up from Jake. "Dude, you are not going to believe what just happened. Now my curiosity was burning. I scrolled through message after message, my eyes widening, and then narrowing as the story unfolded. Emily's perfect wedding? The one I wasn't good enough to be invited to? It was collapsing. The groom had walked out. Not just left quietly. No, he had blown up in front of everyone, fought with Emily in the middle of the reception, then stormed out of the venue. Uncle Rob and my dad had gotten into a screaming match. Grandma cried so hard the staff had to bring her water, and the venue cut the bar service early because of all the chaos. It was a disaster. And my family, who hadn't cared about me enough to invite me, was suddenly desperate for me to be there. Suddenly, I was the person they were all running to. I leaned back in my chair, the glow of my phone lighting my smirk. I took a sip of my drink, the ice clinking softly, and thought, funny how things turn around, isn't it? But that was just the beginning. Because what had happened at that wedding was about to split my family apart in ways none of us could have imagined. I woke up to the sound of waves crashing against the shore, the kind of sound that made you feel like the rest of the world didn't exist. I stretched, feeling more rested than I had in years, but the first thing I did was check my phone. Sure enough, it was still buzzing with missed calls and texts from last night. My mother had sent 6 messages in a row. Call me. Call me now. It's a family emergency. Your sister needs you. I laughed under my breath. Needs me? The same sister who couldn't even bother to put me on the guest list? The same sister who decided my presence was less important than distant cousins and random college friends she hadn't spoken to in years? Now, suddenly, I was the one who had to save the day. I put the phone down and ordered room service. Scrambled eggs, smoked salmon, and fresh orange juice arrived on my balcony. I sat there, watching the sun rise over the ocean, and took my time eating. If my family thought they could pull me into their mess with guilt and panic, they were dead wrong. This was my time. Still, I couldn't deny it. Curiosity was eating at me. What exactly had happened? I opened a text from Jake. Bro, you missed it. The groom literally walked out. He called Emily selfish in front of everyone. It was like a movie. People were crying. People were screaming. Total chaos. I nearly spit my juice across the balcony. I read it again, slowly this time, savoring every word. The groom called her selfish. In front of everyone. And then walked out. It was too perfect. Another message popped up from my aunt. Everything is falling apart. Your mother is hysterical. Emily won't stop crying. Please, can you just come home? She needs her brother. There it was again, she needs her brother. The irony made me grin. She didn't need her brother when it was time to celebrate. She didn't need her brother when it was time to honor family. But now that her fairy tale day had imploded, suddenly I was supposed to drop everything and come running. I took a photo of my breakfast with the ocean behind it and posted it with the caption, starting my day with peace, sunshine, and zero drama. Could get used to this. Within minutes, the comments poured in. Some were jealous. Some were cheering me on. And then I saw it again. Emily saw your post. I could imagine her, mascara smeared, sitting in some hotel room, wondering how her own brother could be smiling on a beach while her life crumbled. The longer I scrolled, the more pieces of the story I uncovered. Apparently, the groom had been having doubts for weeks. He told people that Emily was controlling, that she didn't listen, that she treated everyone, including him, like they were supporting characters in her story. So when the pressure of the wedding day finally hit, he snapped. According to Jake, he stood up in front of the whole reception and said, I can't do this. Emily, it's always been about you. Never about us. I'm done. Then he just walked out. Left her standing there, humiliated, in front of 150 guests. For a second, I felt a tiny pang of sympathy. Getting left at the altar was brutal. But then, I remembered the text she had sent me. Tough cuts. Hope you understand. Yeah, I understood perfectly. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a video. Jake had recorded the aftermath, my dad yelling at my uncle, people arguing, my grandmother collapsing into tears. It looked like a train wreck, and for the first time, I wasn't the one being blamed or cleaning up the mess. I was just watching from paradise. As the sun climbed higher, I made a decision. I wasn't going to call. I wasn't going to answer their texts. If they wanted to leave me out, then they could deal with the fallout without me. But something told me this was just the beginning. Because when families fall apart, they don't just crack, they shatter. And this wedding? It had just lit the fuse. The next day, I decided to stay completely off my phone. I left it charging in the suite, grabbed a towel, and walked straight down to the beach. The sand was hot beneath my feet, The water was cool and inviting, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe without carrying the weight of everyone else's problems on my shoulders. I swam until my muscles ached, then sprawled on a beach chair under an umbrella. The resort staff brought me drinks, fresh fruit, even a cold, scented towel to wipe the salt water from my face. It was heaven, and honestly, it made me realize just how little I had been living for myself before this trip. By mid-afternoon, though, my curiosity got the better of me. I checked my phone. Over 40 missed calls. The family group chat was a disaster zone. Mom, you can't ignore us forever. Emily needs you. She's not well. Dad, I raised you better than this. She's your sister. Show some respect. Emily, I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're my brother. Where are you? Please, just answer. I sat there, scrolling slowly, and something strange happened. Instead of feeling guilt, I felt a kind of calm detachment. For once, I wasn't the emotional punching bag. I wasn't the fixer. I wasn't the one rushing in to patch things up. They wanted me now, but only because everything had collapsed. Then Jake sent me another message. Dude, they're trying to spin it like this is your fault. Mom keeps saying if you had been there, Emily wouldn't have lost it. Unreal. I stared at the screen and laughed so hard the couple on the next beach chair gave me a weird look. Of course they were trying to make me the scapegoat. That was the story of my entire life. If something went wrong, somehow it was my fault. If Emily screwed up, I should have been there to stop it. If Dad lost his temper, it was because I didn't respect him enough. It was always me carrying the blame. Not this time. I typed back to Jake. They cut me out of the wedding. Now they want me to take the blame? Yeah, no thanks. He replied instantly. Good. Stay where you are. Best decision you ever made. That night, I went to a rooftop dinner at the resort. Candlelight flickered across tables. The sound of soft music floated through the warm air, and I could see the endless ocean stretching out into darkness. As I sipped wine, I thought about Emily. She must have been sitting alone somewhere, replaying the disaster over and over in her head. Maybe she regretted cutting me out. Maybe she didn't. Either way, she was learning what it felt like to be abandoned when you needed someone the most. Halfway through dessert, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a text. It was a voicemail from Emily. I hesitated before pressing play. Her voice was shaky, almost unrecognizable. I don't know why you're doing this. I know I didn't invite you, but I need you now. Please, can't you just come home? Everyone's blaming me. I don't know what to do. I set the phone down and stared at the ocean. For years, I had been her safety net. I had picked her up after every failure, comforted her after every heartbreak, solved her problems when no one else would. And now, here she was, begging me for the same thing again. But I wasn't sure if I wanted to catch her this time. As I walked back to my suite that night, I realized something. The wedding wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a reckoning. Emily had always been the golden child, the one who got away with everything. But now the shine was gone, and everyone was seeing the truth. The problem was, they weren't just blaming her. They were dragging me into it too, trying to pull me back into the cycle I had finally escaped. I wasn't sure what would happen when I eventually came home. But one thing was clear. I wasn't going back to being the brother they could use and discard whenever it suited them. This time, things were going to be different. When my flight finally touched down a week later, I felt like a different person. The Caribbean sun had tanned my skin, the resort's luxury had spoiled me, and most importantly, the distance had given me clarity. I wasn't walking back into that house as the same brother who always gave in, always forgave, always accepted the role of afterthought. As I walked through the airport terminal, my phone lit up again. 20 new messages. They hadn't slowed down all week. Most of them were from Mom and Emily. A few from Dad. One from Jake, telling me to brace myself because the family was furious. I ignored all of them until I got into a cab. That's when I finally scrolled through the group chat. Mom, we need to talk immediately. Your behavior is unacceptable. Emily, I can't believe you left me like that. You're my brother. Dad, you embarrassed this family. Embarrassed this family. I almost laughed. The family had embarrassed itself. I wasn't the one whose wedding collapsed in front of 150 guests. I wasn't the one who picked a man who walked out before the cake was even cut. But of course, somehow, they wanted to make it about me. By the time the cab pulled up in front of my parents' house, my stomach tightened. I had grown up here. Every crack in the driveway, every squeaky hinge on the front door was familiar. But now it felt hostile, like I was walking into enemy territory. I rang the doorbell. Within seconds, Mom opened the door. Her eyes were red from crying, but her expression was sharp, like a blade. Finally, she said, "Do you have any idea what you've done?" I stepped inside without answering. The living room was filled with tension. Dad sat stiffly in his chair, arms crossed. Emily was on the couch, mascara smudged, her face pale. Even Grandma was there, muttering into her tissue. I stood there, silent, letting them look at me. For once, I wasn't rushing to defend myself. Mom broke first. "You abandoned your sister. She needed you, and you were on some beach drinking cocktails." "Correction," I said calmly. "I was on a beach drinking cocktails because your daughter cut me out of her wedding. Don't act like I abandoned her when she abandoned me first." Emily flinched. Dad leaned forward. "You don't talk to your mother that way." I locked eyes with him. "Then maybe you should have taught Emily to treat me with basic respect." The room went dead silent. I had never spoken to my father like that before. Not once. Emily sniffled. "I made a mistake, okay? I shouldn't have left you out. But you didn't have to punish me like this. Everyone saw your pictures online. You made me look like a fool." I shook my head. "No, Emily. You made yourself look like a fool when you decided I wasn't important enough to stand by you on your wedding day. You cut me out, and now you want me to fix everything? That's been the story of my life, cleaning up your messes." "Not anymore." Her lips trembled. I thought it was my special day. And I thought I was your brother," I said quietly. Grandma suddenly spoke up, her voice fragile but sharp. "He's right. Emily, you've always treated him like he didn't matter. Maybe now you understand how it feels." Emily looked down at her hands, tears spilling. Mom started to argue, but Grandma raised her hand and silenced her. For the first time, someone in the family actually defended me. Dad stood, his voice booming. "This is ridiculous. Families forgive. Families move on." I faced him. "I've forgiven enough. I've moved on enough. But I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not here to play the scapegoat every time something goes wrong." Emily's sobs filled the room. Mom rubbed her back, glaring at me as though I were the villain. But I didn't feel like the villain. I felt free. I turned toward the door. "I came here to say one thing. I'm done. If you want to treat me like family, I'll be there. But if I'm just here to clean up after Emily's disasters, count me out." I walked out before anyone could stop me. The air outside was cold, biting against my skin, but it felt fresh. Liberating. For the first time in my life, I had stood my ground. As I got into the cab, my phone buzzed with another message. This time from Jake. "Proud of you, man. About time you put yourself first." I leaned back in the seat, watching the house fade from view. This wasn't the end of the story with my family, but it was the end of me being their doormat. And maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of me finally living life on my own terms.